Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Rambeard, and today we'll discuss a groundbreaking mage of the human variety that has gone severely unnoticed despite his discoveries. I'm talking about Archmage Vargoth. We don't know anything of Vargoth's youth up until the point where he joined the Kirin'var. He showed to be a mage of respectable power and managed to become an Archmage. When the forces of men traveled through the Dark Portal for the first time, Archmage Vargoth was tasked with setting up a small town in what was then known as the Plains of Farahlon. He went forth and founded the town of Kirin'var. With the town's defenses in place, they managed to withhold several orcish attacks, and life seemed to be pretty good, up until the point where the Blood Elves attacked under the leadership of Kel'Thas Sunstrider. The humans and other races of Kirin'var fell, and Vargoth was the only known survivor. He was locked in a tower where he spent an eternity of time. How do we know all this, you might ask? A very good question indeed. When we travel through the former plains of Farahlon, or Netherstorm as it is known now, we come across rambeardtube, a high elf of the Kirin'var. He claims to be the apprentice of Archmage Vargoth and has lost Vargoth's staff. Step by step we help him find and recreate the staff, which we can eventually use to summon the image of Archmage Vargoth himself. During this we also learn the Archmage story piece by piece. When we summon his image, he tells us about his situation and about Crassus, consort to the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Apparently the Kirin'var gave several of Crassus's possessions to the expedition led by Vargoth to help them in their quest, as the possessions were of high magical power. They have since been lost, however, and we help reclaim them. The way Archmage Vargoth is locked in a tower is by a magical spell created by the Blood Elves. On top of that, he is guarded by the being called Archelos. He hopes to lift the spell using the items once owned by Crassus, including his spellbook, as well as some other things like his water elemental familiar. We gather all the items, take care of Archelos, and meet the Archmage, who still has no idea how the world around him has changed from Farahlon to Faraghon. The spell actually fails, and Vargoth underestimated Kel'Thas' spell work, and we will require a keystone to the tower spell. This keystone is held by one of Kel'Thas' commanders, Commander Saranis, who resides in the Botanica. We go into the dungeon, kill the commander, and retrieve the keystone. With this, Vargoth is able to disable the spell that keeps him trapped, and he is free to go. I don't think he particularly liked what happened to the place now known as Netherstorm, as he basically went straight back to his home in Dalaran after escaping. And in Dalaran is where we next meet him. When players complete the higher learning achievement by reading several books in Dalaran, they are rewarded with an additional book that teleports them to Archmage Vargoth's home. When we finally use the book, we come to learn that Vargoth's home is actually a tiny chamber in the Violet Citadel. He tells us he finds the place relaxing, and that he loves Dalaran, even though it can be very lonely. He basically went from being locked in one tower to living in another. Oh well. At least he rewards us with a pet after finding him. He still does things while sitting in his tower, as his image will aid the Molten Front during the Sathria's Roost dailies, as you can get him as a guardian. You probably remember that the Kirin'var played a big role in Mists of Pandaria, when the heroes assaulted the Isle of Thunder. As Vargoth is still an Archmage of the Kirin'var, he was stationed on the Isle of Thunder, where he would hand out daily quests near Igalu Crag. Other than that, he didn't play any role during that expansion. Now, before we start with his role in Waters of Draenor, it is important to note that by this point you can still own his staff. When you are all set up with your garrison, it is possible to get the rare follower mission called Finding Farahlon. The mission states that the Netherstorm had to originate from something, and that the followers are to go there and bring something back. They bring back a mysterious shining lockbox, and when you open it, you find nothing but Archmage Vargoth's spare staff. How it got there, no one knows, but I guess it's just a bit of a tribute to Vargoth's role in the Burning Crusade. So now we own both Vargoth's staff, as well as his spare staff. It's worth noting that both staffs share a cooldown when summoning the image of the Archmage. Now, Vargoth's story doesn't end here, but before I continue, I'll have to elaborate on time travel, as well as... oh, one moment. Interdimensional travel, so bear with me. Time travel is a feature we see every now and then in the world of Warcraft, and is usually practiced by the Bronze Dragonflight. Bronze Dragons are not the only ones to practice the art though, and even very skilled mages of any race are theoretically able to transport themselves through time. Transporting between realities is an entirely different kind of art, however, although this form of transportation is linked to time travel. Even though these forms of travel are different, they heavily rely on each other, and at the end of the day, time and reality, or the time stream, should be inviolated. The Bronze Dragonflight takes care of this, and thus they do not only reign over time, but also over interdimensional travel. There are other forms of life known to travel between realities, like Prince Malchezaar in Karazhan, and the demons of the Twisting Nether. As far as I know, no mage from any of the playable races has ever managed to travel in time, as well as through alternate dimensions at the same time. Now, why is this important? At certain places on Draenor, we can see ripples in time. When we check them out, we find peculiar things. a mysterious ring, some boots, a staff, and a mystic hat. All of these items have a V on them, be it embroidered in the boots, be it engraved in the ring, etc, etc. This is rather peculiar, and we bring all the items to Zooty Fizzlefury, a mage that joined Khadgar on his expedition to Draenor to study temporal rarities, so this is right up his alley. Zooty says that someone has been sending these items to the Walls of Draenor timeline from our timeline, even though that should not be possible. He says he may know a ritual to summon forth the mastermind behind all this though. As he performs the ritual, we see that the Interdimensional Traveler is no other than Archmage Vargoth. As he sees us, he says the following: "Is that you? Fantastic! And they said it couldn't be done. They said traversing the worlds in this way was the domain of the Bronze Dragonflight. Well, guess who's temporally laughing now?" So yeah, Vargoth actually did the impossible. He transcended time and space as the first member of the Kirin'var. This is awesome if you ask me. He says he can wield all of his actual power through the image that we can see on Draenor now, and that he wishes to join us on our travels to discover other things, and thus he becomes a garrison follower. Or, well, his image does, I guess. It's funny to note that he carries his own staff, while we actually have his staff as well as his spare staff. And what kind of mage has a third staff, right? But with that, his story ends, and my, what an amazing story it was for such a minor character. I hope more people will come to appreciate him, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.